Let's talk a bit about the songs on 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧, what triggered my inspiration, how I started writing them, the meaning behind the lyrics, and some additional anecdotes. Full. During the pandemic, I rescued some ideas that were not good enough and turned out into Full. That was a blast to write. Lap and I worked together to dig out some of those dusty ideas, and parts of Full came out. As a funny detail, we put the joke name of coronavirus to the guitar profile, and for whatever reason since then, the software names every song with the title of coronavirus by default on the credits. For this song, I allow myself to go deeper into the neoclassical vibes, perhaps because I was exploring a new method for me to that date. Instead of using a keyboard or guitar or any instrument, or writing straight from my head the melodies for instrumental parts, I kinda hum them. Every instrument for me has a certain power to bring out moods when I'm composing, and it seems that when I'm humming, let's call it that way, I go more into the neoclassical approach. While the previous songs had elements here and there, like the solo and Speed of Light, this album goes harder with this. And regarding to the lyrics, I had an authentic blast writing them, full therapy, not going to lie. I was thinking all the time about 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧, and not only on the musical side, but also on the lyrics. On one side, I was living my Joylyn Turner fantasy, and on the other, the approach on songs like Liar, so assertive on the delivery with Mark Vols in every line, bringing the attitude. The lyrics are quite personal, and in that moment of my life more than ever, there is a fool, is real, and every word on that lyric has weight. Time Covers No Lies. Time Covers No Lies was a very fast and last-minute demo that I prepared. One of the latest additions to the album. Cedric rewarded the guitars and did an amazing job adding many nice things. I had a feeling that this album needed a fast and direct track in the vein of Night Witches included in Gods of Death. It's a very different approach, but you know, we want speed and we want it now. I cannot deny the influence of one of the most iconic and beloved bands for me, which is Accept. Songs like Breaker are straight to the point, but also the lyric writing is quite unusual for me because I tend to go with a more poetic and metaphoric type of lyrics, and I did simplify the formula for Time Covers No Lies, being clear and simple, straight to the point. Oh boy, you get what you deserve one day, but you will get it. 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧. The first song that I had ready for the album was in fact 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧. I was taking a bath and the chorus came easily to my brain and the rest of the song was flowing smoothly. It was very easy to write actually. I loved crafting the melodies of this song on my guitar. I will say this one is the most clear example of both my essence as a songwriter, but also as a lyricist. The solo on this song is the only one that we kept from those that I wrote, which makes me very happy because I gave Cedric full freedom on the solos to rewrite mine or fill those that I didn't even try. I'm very picky, I'm not going to lie, but when you're working with a guitarist that has his talent and intuition, I don't have that fear. He knows what note to put in every place and it's perfect. The lyrics talk about how hard it is to move on from the past, either from trauma and bad experiences, or also the feeling of past times being better than the present. The nostalgia and pain act like 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧, some sort of a prison. So that is what it means to be in 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗧𝗔𝗖𝗧. The artwork of the album represents that idea of every link of the chain being different and wonky, as they are unique experiences joining all together in a heavy weight to carry around. Maze of Haze. Maze of Haze was another of the latest additions, written in early 2023, when we were aiming to start the pre-production of the album. The lyrics of Maze of Haze portray the overwhelming and exhausting experience of a neurodivergent individual in a neurotypical world. The title has several meanings, or multiple actually. Maze can mean labyrinth but also confusion, a set of rules that you struggle to understand or process. And haze has also multiple meanings as well, some sort of fog that makes things hard to see around, but also mental confusion. So any combination of those words is actually working for this, even in a literal way or choosing a metaphorical approach. It was called originally Empty Words. Again, I'm on fault with the titles, so I'm quite happy with the new ones, because actually it ended up having a good one. Tale of Revenge. Also, during the first years of the pandemic, I was talking with Cedric, way before he joined the band, way before I had the name of Bronze ready for the band, and he convinced me that it was about time to give justice to Tale of Revenge. If you've been around here for a while, you know that this song is not precisely new. In fact, this is the first song that I ever wrote for the band back in 2008. The first demo ever, and it was included as well on the EP Wheel Revenge. At first I was hesitant because I thought it was re-recorded for so many times. But of course there's many people out there that have not heard the previous versions. So now, finally, this song has a real opportunity to bring justice and receive the proper sound. The folk and medieval influences are undeniable. What can I do? It is what I am. Back in those days, I was writing music mostly on my keyboard because I did not own a guitar. Mine was broken. The lyrics tell a dark tale about a man who's been looking for revenge and finally get it. Jackals of the Sea was the second song that I had ready for the album back in 2020. It started out as a sea shanty, not gonna lie. It was not meant to be for this project. It was a casual composition for one of those many side projects that I have. I was just singing the verse and the chorus and named the file Tyrant song, but then I decided to turn it into a proper heavy metal song. The lyrics are inspired by Belit from the Conan universe, or more around the crew, actually. It's that way of taking some epic poems and twisting the narrative for intentions. This is what I do here. Samurai started out with just a title, which is an unusual approach for me because, as I was saying, I struggle a lot picking good titles and it takes me forever to find the right ones. But I had clear that this song was named Samurai. The main melody came quite easily to my head and the chorus as well, and they were ringing in my head for a long time. But the lyrics... For a long time I didn't know how to approach the lyrics of this song. I didn't want something from the book, I didn't want to go too literal, and I was having a lot of issues. But I think I finally crafted a story that was worth telling. It took me a long time until I found a new approach. The story of two samurais who are comrades and serve the same warlord, who is abusive and cruel. Samurais had a code of honor, that's true, but the most important thing is that they needed to fulfill the warlord's orders no matter what. It didn't matter if it was bad or good. In this story, the warlord throws an awful request. He puts his eye on a young woman who rejects him, and he orders the first samurai to kill her and her children. The samurai refuses, so there's little alternative: kill the warlord or be dead himself. Of course, that's the ultimate offense, and despite being friends, the second samurai has to hunt and kill the betrayer. Who wins? Well, all of us, because we can listen on loop this song. The recording process on vocals for this song was also the starting point of breaking the rules and thinking outside the box, because I was struggling a lot to finish this one, standing in front of the microphone and just standing still. I'm a very active singer and I need to move around, and I have a very hard time just on studio sessions being in front of the microphone. That's not for me. I'm a live performance above all. So it was a huge frustration, and the psychological aspect was quite draining. So Cedric dared to give me a microphone that I could hold in my hands and perform as if I was in a live concert. The studio microphone was not in the best condition and I still had to be very careful because the moisture would fuck it up if I was too close. So I was not completely free. But we were surprised very fast with the good results. My attitude towards this song changed completely once I was able to be myself and move around. That was the start of a new era of approach on recording vocals. Realm of the Damned. Another surprise addition for me was Realm of the Damned, because I started working on the song 10 years ago when I was living in a certain neighborhood that was not good, but it was way worse in the past, in the 80s. This song was originally called City Streets. This neighborhood in the 80s was like a mecca of heavy metal filled with bars, venues, and life on the streets. Nowadays it's just a working class neighborhood with some better areas than others. The fun thing is that I used to hang around with a group of people that were toxic as fuck. These guys of different ages will throw comments such as, "Women are not metalheads because with age they change," or "You should write about the things that really matter, like life in the neighborhood and the streets, instead of dragons and fantasy." The irony is that all of them were living very comfortable lives, with mommy and daddy having everything ready, meal, bed, anything, and they did not have a job, and they were praising the working class life and the heroes from back in the day. And by heroes, I mean junkies, or what remain of them. So wasted and ruined that they don't even know the name of their children. Harmless, kind of, beyond a too long hand for young women. I myself was living in a building that had 3 apartments squatted by a big family who did not pay the rent and were making a full mess around. In front of my apartment was a young couple with a young kid. The man was an illegal immigrant and the lady was consuming her business stocks of good, if you know what I mean. Too high to notice the black eyes on her face. And the best ones were on top of my apartment, a couple of brothers on their 50s, looking like they were 800 years old skeletons. They had the most similar voices ever, and for a long time I thought that it was just one person, one crazy old lady. You know, that type of high-pitched, annoying, junky voice with metallic undertones. They were fighting all the time and it was impossible for me to make a regular living and sleep at all. It was awful. One night, my group of friends were hanging around my apartment, which was quite rare. But I had to finish some graphics for a very badly paid booklet for one of them. It was summer, and of course they were complaining because I did not have air conditioner and the heat was overwhelming. So we had the door open and we were able to hear everything even louder. We heard some loud noises and voices and then a huge bomb and I've been killed. Then the ambulance and police came. One of the brothers was taken to the hospital and with an open crane and leaving blood all over the staircases. As I was preparing the EP around those days, someone mentioned, "So Mina, are the songs going to be about fantasy and hee dragons?" The next day I heard the remaining brother screaming while high outside his apartment and talking to the bricks. Again. I was tired, I didn't manage to sleep even a bit that night, very much exhausted with the heat and everything, so I started writing the lyrics of this song in a very ironical way. A few days later, a brother died, by the way. I wanted to bring this song back, but it was very incomplete. I had the vocal lines and some basic guitars that were changed later. Seth rewrote the riffs and it became a great song under the title of Realm of the Damned instead of City Streets. Tyrant spell. I was inspired by the performance of Iron Fate on Keep It True while I was watching the live stream from my home. Still pandemic times, strong restrictions in Spain. I honestly aimed to create a separate project with a very US power metal sound oriented. Crimson Glory, Queen's Reich, Sabotage. Thinking it was way too far from the sound of the band while still being traditional heavy metal, but you know, when you're inside the nuances feel stronger. I showed it to Cedric when he was not in the band at that time, but you know, always close to it, and he convinced me to keep this one for the project. I enjoyed writing this one a lot, and the lyrics were also therapeutical. One later addition to the song was the intro, which was taken from another composition that I had back in the day. It was called Flying Monkeys, inspired by the Wizard of Oz. I never published that one because it was for a new side projects, neoclassical oriented madness that I was reserving for something. It was an instrumental short piece, a lot of blee 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 on guitars, and I'm glad that it finally had a second life. The lyrics kind of seekers and are a direct and blunt critique and response to certain individuals on the music industry. The world is filled with tyrants crafting their evil spells behind the scenes, while people seem to consider them some sort of saviors. Perhaps due to ignorance and active brainwashing, or maybe aware of the truth and fearing their wrath. They may be strong enough to put stones on their way, but I'll raise my voice at any opportunity given for anyone who will dare to listen. And that's it. That's a walkthrough in Chains and Shadows, the inspiration behind. I hope you enjoy it, and now it's time to listen to the album. This is The Age of Bronze.